The ADHD epidemic. A boyfriend struggles with what he thinks is a severe case of ADHD. Will his girlfriend decide to stay in the relationship and work things out, or will she leave him because she's had enough? Find out on today's edition of Coach Ben's Case by Case. All right, let's see what we have here. He is 37 years old, and she is 33. I have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and my girlfriend is tired of me bringing up issues I have with our relationship. I'm a quite sensitive person and not always easy to be in a relationship with. I have simple needs. I want to be loved and understood. Well, that's the basis for all relationships, isn't it? When it comes to love, I respond the best to physical touch and words of affirmation. That should be in any case. To me, when I say being understood, that means putting in some effort to try to empathize, even if it's hard. Again, that's what every couple should be doing with each other. I don't need to feel like she gets me all the time, but I want to at least feel like she's trying to. Okay, this should be an easy problem to fix. Her love languages are quality time and acts of service. I also like quality time, and I love spending time with her, be it traveling, cooking, hiking, or just watching a movie. Acts of service is a bit harder because it requires a lot of planning, but I try my best. For example, for her birthday, I built a website with a quiz scavenger hunt in the town we were visiting in Vietnam. Okay. Well, it doesn't sound so severe yet. You know, ADHD can be cured, by the way. However, it's always ultimately up to the person suffering from the condition to seriously work on bettering their symptoms if they are to succeed. It's just that simple, as with many other conditions. But we'll talk about that later. Let's go ahead and see what we have, because that's not quite enough to really work with so far. So far, nothing extreme. My girlfriend rarely gives me compliments. That's not very nice. Let's see if that's true. She finds it forced, and she only gives compliments if they feel sincere. Okay. That's interesting. I tell her it's as easy as telling me how she really feels about me. A little bit of insecurity I'm getting from this guy. But she's not the best at expressing her emotions. Okay, but he could be right. I require quite frequent affirmation. That could be a problem. Insecure as I thought. I know it's because of my past trauma, probably, and my insecurities. Well, there it is. And it's my responsibility to work on that. Yes, it is. But it's also hers. Because if she really loves you, she's going to help you work on that, right? I mean, you guys are a team. And I am. But I could use some help from her. Yes. What are partners for? Your partner's supposed to be there to empathize with you and to help you work out your mental and emotional issues if you have any. This is basic 101 love here. So if she's dropping the ball in that department, there's a big problem lurking in the background. I often find myself wishing that she came to me more often and gave me hugs, kisses, and general physical attention. If she's not doing those basic things, but you say more often, is she doing it enough? Let's find out. Making requests and explaining why it's important to me doesn't change much. There's usually some reason why she can't. Okay, that could be problematic. Either it's because it feels forced. There's that word again. Why does it feel forced? I mean, if he's telling the truth and she's trying to be as sincere as possible, I don't know how much she actually loves him since I'm asking for it. Or it's because she hasn't felt much attraction. Well, there's the underlying problem if that's the case. Because I haven't been like she prefers me to be. Okay. Well, is she toxic? Yes or no? You don't do this to partners. You don't be like, look, I prefer you to be a little less affectionate because sincerely I'm not really feeling it. It feels forced. What are you talking about? If your partner needs a hug or a kiss, it's not too much to ask for. Nothing should feel forced. Some people need more affection than others, but a loving relationship is supposed to be abundant of hugs and kisses and affirmations, positive affirmations. Security is everything in a relationship. You have to feel confident and happy. Everything. Secure. That's what trust is built on. Since I'm asking for it, you're not asking for much. So far I'm on the side of the boyfriend here. Okay. Because I haven't been like she prefers me to be. That boggles my mind. What do you prefer him to be like? Cold, and there's so many cold guys out there, and you finally have somebody who's showing a little bit more signs of affection, and you don't want that as a woman? That's like any real woman's dream right there, and any guy's dream to have an affectionate partner. Well, it's not needy either, because the people who say, oh, that's too needy, you don't know how to love. You don't know what love is. We spend quite a bit of time at her mother's house as we are in the process of building our own. Wow. You can always tell whether your partner is truly in love with you based on what they're willing to do just for you. And he's not asking for much. Because when you love someone, you give them your all. You give them everything you have. And some people are afraid to do that. So if she says that feels forced, that's a huge red flag right there. And luckily they're not married yet, because this can snowball into something even worse. Right now it's fun and games, not for him, but for her. I find it challenging to be proactive when I'm in someone else's home, and it affects how she sees me. It's gotten better, and I tend to do much of the shopping, some of the cooking, and a bit of dog walking. However, I'm not taking care of the place as I would if it was my own. Okay, that's normal. And I guess that makes her see me as a bit childish, I suppose. Well, her head is not in the game. The game of love, right? She is not your partner. She's a bit emotionally and mentally distant, and I want to know why that is. It sounds like it's just her, for whatever reason. I'm kind of a nerd, but I go weightlifting 4 times a week and have been traveling full-time with her for 4 years now. Wow, that's a lot of traveling. So it's not like I'm completely socially awkward or anything. I just struggle with executive dysfunction. That's a fancy name. And some other ADHD-related struggles sometimes. Well, we'll take a look at that term. What I want more than anything is to feel like she is on my team. There you go, that's the right word, when it comes to this. Really? That's executive function is just another name for poorly planning or organizing something, procrastinating or failing to be punctual. Yeah, but these habits, they can be corrected. It's not a big deal. I would never call it executive dysfunction, but they have a name for everything. Even breathing or something. They make a big deal out of it, the way you breathe or something. I'm not talking about medical terminology here. I'm just saying that anybody can call anything dysfunction, or you're too loud, you're too quiet, you're too this, you're too that. Unless it's like really impeding your lifestyle and daily life functions. So let's see how bad of a case of ADHD this guy says he has, and how toxic his girlfriend really is, perhaps. But what ends up happening is that I get frustrated because some need isn't being fulfilled. Right, it sounds like it, basic needs. Or she says or does something that I have an issue with. Okay, why do you have an issue with whatever you weren't really specific there. So I make a request, which could be something like, hey, I'm not feeling so great today. I could use some extra love and support. Okay, would you mind maybe cuddling a bit with me in bed? That's not a big request. She should say yes, right? 5 minutes. Whatever, if you feel that it's forced, right? Which you shouldn't feel like it's forced. I don't know what's really happening in her brain, but she's told me that she does not like being asked to jump through hoops. Well, that could be the case if you're asking for too much, but so far you're not asking for much at all. It probably just annoys her for some strange reason. So usually what happens is that it takes the entire day before she complies with my request, or there's an excuse for why she can't do that for me. Usually something work related. Okay, so excuses, which makes me feel like I'm not a priority and just exacerbates the issue. Yes, it does. It sounds like you're not a priority for her. You know, far too many relationships end up in failure, all because one or both partners is unwilling to change for the better, as in this case. She doesn't want to change. She says, you know what, this feels forced. I'm not doing that. You're asking for too much. You know, only a no excuses attitude will guarantee success in a relationship. There can't be any of these ridiculous excuses for the most basic needs of love in a relationship. Hugging, kissing, cuddling for a little bit. You know, if you have your ups and downs mentally and emotionally, your partner should be the number one go-to person to help you out. Because it can happen to anybody, whether you're in a relationship or not. That's what family's supposed to be there for. That's what real friends are supposed to be there for. But your partner is far more powerful and important than your friends or family could ever be. You're supposed to be soulmates. You're not going to ever get close to that, ever, if you have an attitude like that. Like she has. Highly toxic attitude. Sounds like she's not in love with you. I'm glad you guys aren't married yet. Lately, I've pointed out a few things that she says that make her feel bad, okay? Such as micromanaging how I cook or drive. That could be the case. She might be nagging, which is an abusive attitude and behavior. Whenever I cook, the kitchen can become a bit messy. The kitchen always gets messy when you cook. I tend to be a bit unaware, as she calls it, and can spill things on the floor. Well, you know, you'll become a master with time. It's okay. Just clean it up, right? Etc. Honestly, I have more than enough with just managing everything in the kitchen at the same time, so making sure I'm not making a mess would just stress me out further. Well, I mean, if you're doing all the cooking, especially, and she's not wanting to participate or help out, at the very least, yes, that's going to only stress you further. That's unacceptable. If your partner needs help in whatever, doing the chores, cooking, cleaning, whatever it is, organizing, going out shopping for something that she might need your help with or he needs your help with, just stop it. Just, if you can, go, right? Help out. That's what being a partner is all about. Be helpful. Be useful. Don't be useless. I wish she appreciated the effort I put into cooking for us. There it is. She doesn't appreciate it. Instead of pointing out the mistakes I make. You know, you can talk about, but it's not mistakes. It sounds like she's just getting annoyed with the smallest things that you're doing, and that's unacceptable. I'm sensitive to criticism. That's not criticism. That's just being a nagging partner. And I feel like I can take it, but it would be a lot easier if it came wrapped in a package of compassion. Real criticism always comes wrapped in a bit of compassion, because the tables can always turn, and then somebody could criticize you. Well, how do you like it if I told you that you're horrible at this and you can't do this right? Yeah, it feels bad all of a sudden when the tables are turned. That's not criticism. There's destructive criticism, which is actually an abusive behavior in and of itself. And there's productive criticism. When you want that person to succeed and you say, hey, you know what? Offer them your advice. Now, unless you're trying to teach something to someone, but this is your partner we're talking about. There's no such thing as criticizing. There's positive feedback, but don't provide negative feedback. Have some empathy. And he's not asking for much. Wrapped in a package of compassion. He's not asking for much. He's not asking for his girlfriend to kiss his feet before she makes a critique of him doing something. That's not the case. Just be a little considerate. Like, hey, he has feelings too. Men aren't made out of titanium wall material. We have, thoughts and emotions just like women. We're human beings, for crying out loud. This is a kind of our cycle, and she is tired of it. Okay, that's kind of your cycle, right? That's a cycle of abuse, of toxicity. Not straight up abuse, but it's borderline getting there because she makes you feel bad at every turn. And she's not showing you any signs of affection. So what? She's just using you? Because that's abusive behavior right there. I am too. But she started to tell me that she is tired of there always being something that I have an issue with. It's not sounding like it. Now, this is coming from the boyfriend's perspective, point of view, from, his words. Doesn't sound like it, that he's being excessive with what he's asking, for her to help with or show any signs of affection. And some people need more signs of affection than others, but that's pretty easy. Oh, it's too difficult to cuddle with my husband for a few minutes, or future husband in this case. Oh, my partner is just too difficult to give him hugs and kisses. And what? To me, that feels very minimizing. Yeah, it is very minimizing. It's humiliating, isn't it? Yes, I sometimes have issues, but nothing we can't sort out by talking about it. That's like the basis of any relationship. I find that she becomes defensive very quickly. Yeah, she's got an attitude problem. She's got a really serious attitude problem. This is toxic. Toxic lady right here. And instead of taking responsibility, she deflects, which has the opposite effect on me, feeling like I'm being understood and empathized with. Oh boy. A partner must never be nagging like this, never be disrespectful like this, or inconsiderate like this. Such negative attitudes have no place in the realm of true love and only spell future disaster. She's not relationship material. It sounds like she's extremely immature, not ready to love somebody with all of her heart and soul. And yes, you can tell that right off the bat. This can lead to issues that drag out for a long time. It's not what I want at all. It's not what anybody should want. But yet it happens. I used to get very angry. It's a trauma response I developed while I was an adolescent, which is a hard habit to kick. Well, you should have kicked that habit, and I hope you did kick that habit because your partner is not responsible for your dark past. That works both ways, by the way. Fix it. I've gotten better, and I really hate myself when I come to my senses and realize I've said something really hurtful to her. Okay, well, you're recognizing your mistakes. Those are mistakes right there. Getting angry and saying things that are hurtful. You do need to correct that 100%. Not 90% or 80% or 70 or 50. The whole damn thing, because the last thing you want to do is be the same toxicity as she is. Now you're both in the wrong, right? And that's probably why she turned off the switch. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that could be the cause, but she's not being productive by reacting with an equivalent form of toxic behavior. That responsibility is mine, and I'm well aware that I'm far from flawless. We'll talk about that. All things considered, maybe I'm expecting too much of my girlfriend. Maybe I'm being unreasonable. No, now you're sounding back to that insecurity part that you mentioned in the beginning. All I ask is some advice on how to deal with a situation like this. Of course, there are always two sides to the story, and I'm sure she would have explained all of this differently. This is my perspective. That's what we said. I'm trying really hard to understand her perspectives. You don't have to try that hard. But I find it increasingly difficult. It's actually really simple, as I feel she's not granting me the same courtesy. Well, the longer that small issues like this drag on for, the closer to failure the relationship will get. You can, in fact, have a flawless relationship, but it takes two to make it happen. And those who don't believe that perfection can be achieved between two people in a relationship, a couple, those are the people who are putting their relationship at high risk for failure. Because they're saying, oh no, perfection doesn't exist. We don't have to perfect our relationship. It is what it is. Everybody else is like that. That's why so many people are divorced and breaking up, right? Because you're not willing to put in any effort into the relationship. When you experience something that's perfect, that it can't get any better than that, that's what your relationship should be. You should work on it with the same attitude, the same mindset. So Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look into the ADHD definitions. Inattentive, hyperactive, or a combination of the two. Let's go ahead and go over it a little bit, because let me tell you something right off the bat. Everyone has a little bit of almost everything listed here in this diagram here. The only thing that should matter is that you and your partner feel comfortable with each other's personalities. Distractibility. Anybody can get distracted at a certain level. Overlooks details. Forgetfulness. Loses objects. When's the last time you lost your keys or misplaced your keys or forgot where your keys were? I mean, come on, people. As long as this isn't chronic, then it could be classified as ADHD. But we're going to talk about that later. Difficulty regulating attention and focus. Diagnosed later in life. More likely to have internalizing disorders, anxiety, and depression. Yeah, it's a mixture of all these negative emotions. Could be produced by a negative thought pattern too. Like, such as this case with the boyfriend. He's very insecure. It's going to cause negative behavior via the thoughts and emotions that are in the negative energy area. They're not in the positive area where it should be. Most common, subtype among adults and females. Processing speed impacted. So that's inattentive. Let's switch over to hyperactive, because this is when you're going into turbo mode. Impulsivity. Okay. Everybody's impulsive to, a certain extent. Fidgety and restlessness. It depends. Too much caffeine. Too nervous. So again, a little bit is okay. Often completes people's sentences. You got to be a little respectful. Let them finish their sentences, right? Are you in a rush? So yes, these are things you can control. Difficulty waiting a turn. Often on the go and not has difficulty resting. Yes, you need to slow down. Slow down. Take it easy. People, when they hear somebody say, hey, take it easy, they're like, yeah, whatever. They take it for granted. It's like, no, you seriously need to take it easy. Even if you just say it as a going away, okay, goodbye, see you next time, hey, take it easy. You should always remind yourself to take it easy. Life is already challenging enough as it is. More likely to have co-occurring externalizing disorders, ODD and CD. Okay. I mean, it's a disorder if you can't get it under control. But most people, they run around saying, I have this, I have ADHD, I have all these other acronyms, and they really don't. They just have behavioral issues that they can fix by themselves. But unfortunately, they want that negative attention, well, positive attention, but it's a negative way of getting it, by saying, I have all these conditions, I can't do anything about it. Give me pills and therapy. All those pills and therapy aren't going to help you if it's something that you can control. If it's out of control, it's called a disorder. Make sure you actually have a disorder before you claim to have a disorder. Even if you're diagnosed with a disorder, I guess you have the disorder. However, never lose hope that you can probably prove them wrong if you get your life back in order, mentally and emotionally, and thus behaviorally. More common among males. Often diagnosed in early childhood, often talks excessively. It depends. Are you the one giving a speech or a lecture or a lesson? Then okay, some people can consider that excessive because they're impatient. And we're going to switch over to inattentive, blending into the hyperactive. Sleep issues, sensory processing problems, self-esteem impacted, like this guy in this case. His self-esteem is going down because he feels that his girlfriend's not showing him enough signs of affection, as she should. Executive functioning impacted. Yes, because how can you function when you don't have the basic necessities in life? Human beings need affection constantly. It's not a needy behavioral characteristic, unless it's in excess, which in this case it's not. He's asking for very small things that should be in the relationship abundantly. High rate of co-occurring mood disorders. That it's going to affect your mind and emotions. Working memory impacted. Okay, so like I said, everybody has a little bit of these things, but to sit there and say, I actually have ADHD, it's a disorder, I can't control it, I think that's false. Even if you're diagnosed with ADHD, you should never lose hope. Refuse to live with all these negative labels, such as ADHD, PTSD, depression, anxiety, fear. some more extreme than others, right? And so many more negative labels. Always fight to better whatever mental or emotional issues you're going through or you may have. Nobody can cure these conditions for you. Only you can do it. Now, if it's something that you can't do, you've tried everything and anything, you just have to learn to live with, I get it. But as long as you tried, you gave it your best, and you reached out for help from professionals and non-professionals, anybody, any help is good. But ultimately, you have to help yourself. And you have to prove it to yourself. Is this really a disorder? Do I really have no chance of getting this under control? Because if that's the case, that you actually have a mental or emotional disorder, like real ADHD, I don't think you could be possibly paying any attention to this right now, what I'm saying. If you really had ADHD, you would have already been on so many other materials out there online, or just turned it off and go offline. You wouldn't even listen to one sentence or a few words. A lot of people do struggle with that. Real attention deficit, but it's not a disorder. It's just that they haven't taught themselves how to be patient, how to slow things down, how to take things more seriously that they need to take seriously. This is more of a lazy preference, just going through the motions in life, not realizing the possible future consequences of such decisions. They're very poor decisions at that. They never listen to their parents. They don't listen to friends. They don't listen to their partner, who supposedly loves them so much. They don't listen to that voice inside their head and that feeling inside their heart that says, this is probably not a good choice. But you just have to play the bad guy, don't you? Males and females out there, they just can't help it. Now you're addicted to being toxic. It has nothing to do with ADHD. You're toxic to yourself. You're a hazard to yourself. That's what this is all about. So, if you've been diagnosed with an actual condition, so be it. You are what you believe in the end. But I would advise, fight it with everything you have in the positive light. Try your best and use all the help you can get. Because if you don't, it is quicksand and you will have the actual disorder. Where else do you think it's going to go? How else do you think it's going to end? It's not going to end good. If that's the case, if you actually have, if you're really prone to actually acquiring this disorder, like you're completely out of order. But unfortunately, like I said before, many people, that it's like they want it. They want to feel special by acquiring a disorder, a mental or emotional disorder. It's like, why would you want that? For attention? You know that that's going to be the wrong source of attention. Oh, look at me. I have a disorder. I need sympathy. I need empathy and sympathy. No, you're doing it to yourself at that point. Get your head out of the dirt and fight it with all you have, because you still have a chance before it actually becomes a disorder. And that's pretty much all I have to say. In this case, the girlfriend is 100% toxic, not wanting to hug or kiss or cuddle for a little bit. And this guy should break up with her. I don't care 4 years traveling or how long they've been with each other. She is not marriage material, not even in the slightest. You can't even fulfill his basic needs. It's not even demanding, for crying out loud. He didn't even talk about sex or anything. He's not even pushy. He's not demanding. So yeah, judgment for the boyfriend. I hope he really does break up with her and find somebody who loves doing those things, because he's going to be one happy camper. And with that, this has been Coach Ben's Case by Case. Much love, everybody.